Imagine a world where every ocean is dust, every river is gone, and a single drop of water decides who lives and who dies. Today we dive into the most emotional and suspenseful survival story you've ever heard, where hope, betrayal, and sacrifice flow like rivers long forgotten. Stay with me till the very end, because what you're about to witness will shake your heart and change the way you see life forever. In a time not far from our own, Earth became a graveyard of dust. The once mighty rivers lay cracked and dry, oceans had turned into vast deserts of salt, and the air carried the constant sting of ash. Humanity had always taken water for granted, until one day there was nothing left. The world's greatest wars were no longer fought for land or power, but for a single sip of clean water. Amid this chaos lived a man named Ethan, a father who carried his fragile daughter on his shoulders as they walked through ghost towns and barren deserts. His daughter's lips were dry, her eyes sunken, but she still clung to life with a spark of hope that Ethan refused to let die. For him, every step was not for survival, it was for her. Her tiny voice often whispered, "Papa, water?" And each time, Ethan's heart broke, for he had none to give. Beside Ethan traveled Maya, a young woman hardened by loss. She had once had a family, a home, even laughter in her life, but raiders killed her loved ones for a jug of water. Now she walked with silent strength, her eyes always scanning the horizon. To her, trust was a dangerous luxury, but somehow, Ethan's daughter had softened her heart. Their unlikely companion was Samir, an ex-scientist burdened by regret. He had warned governments and corporations decades ago that greed and waste would end the world, but no one listened. Now he wandered like the rest, haunted by the thought that this wasteland was his failure. Yet deep down, he still carried fragments of knowledge, maps, data and theories that spoke of hidden springs and underground reservoirs. In this ruined world, rumors were often deadlier than reality. But one rumor echoed across the wastelands, a secret place high in the northern mountains where water still flowed freely. Some called it an oasis, others a trap. Many had set out in search of it, and none had ever returned. Still, when your only choices are death or faith, hope becomes the only weapon left. Their journey began across an endless desert, where days burned their skin and nights froze their bones. Ethan would hum lullabies to his daughter under the stars, pretending for her sake that the world was not already dead. Maya, though silent, kept watch with her handmade spear, knowing raiders often stalked desperate travelers. Samir, with trembling hands, drew lines in the sand each night, calculating how much longer they could last without water. His calculations always ended the same way: doom. One evening, as the horizon bled red with the setting sun, their camp was attacked. Raiders on rusted bikes circled like wolves, their eyes glowing with madness. The leader carried a half-full canteen tied to his chest, as if it were a king's crown. Ethan shielded his daughter, Maya fought like a cornered lioness, and Samir, shaking, terrified, found the courage to throw fire from a broken flare gun. Flames lit the night, forcing the raiders back. But in the chaos, Ethan's daughter fainted from thirst, and the sight drove Ethan to his knees. They pressed on, guided by the whisper of the oasis. Each day, their bodies weakened, their minds frayed. Hallucinations blurred the line between life and death. Ethan would see rivers shimmering in the distance, only to collapse onto sand. Maya once heard the laughter of her dead brother in the wind. Samir, delirious, begged forgiveness from ghosts only he could see. Yet somehow, they kept moving, step after agonizing step. At last, the land began to rise. Rocky cliffs replaced the desert, and thin streams of wind carried a strange smell moisture. For the first time in years, the air felt alive. But their hope was short-lived. The mountains were guarded not by nature, but by men. A hidden fortress of survivors had claimed the oasis, turning water into currency, into power, into chains. To them, water was not life, it was control. Ethan and Maya were captured, their daughter taken inside, her lips pressed against a glass of water she could not drink until Ethan obeyed. The leader of this fortress, a man named Corvin, smiled with cruelty. "Water is not for the weak," he said. "It belongs to those who can take it." For Ethan, the words were knives. He would rather die than bow, but his daughter's trembling hands reminded him, sometimes, survival means swallowing your pride. Samir, however, saw something the others missed. Deep within the fortress walls, he discovered machinery, old pumps and filters from the time before the collapse. The oasis wasn't a miracle, it was science. A secret reservoir buried deep underground, sustained by machines long forgotten. And with that knowledge, Samir realized something terrifying. If the machines failed, if Corvin hoarded too much, even this last oasis would die. Humanity's final hope would vanish forever. Desperation birthed courage. Under moonlight, Ethan, Maya, and Samir plotted escape. With stolen keys and burning fury, they fought their way through guards, fire, and chaos. Ethan carried his daughter, Maya struck down those who cornered them, and Samir, bleeding but determined, reached the machines. With shaking hands, he reset the pumps, releasing water into the open. Streams burst forth like veins of silver, flooding the courtyard. For the first time in decades, water was free. The fortress erupted into madness. Guards abandoned their posts, people fell to their knees, drinking straight from the ground. Corwin screamed, but his power drowned in the flood. Ethan's daughter laughed as cool water touched her lips. Maya knelt beside her, tears mixing with the stream. Samir collapsed, a smile of redemption on his face. He had given back what the world had lost. And as dawn rose over the mountains, rivers shimmered once again. Humanity had a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance to rebuild. For in the end, water was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be shared, to be cherished, to be protected. And those scars remained,